Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Feisty, fearless, and fair. She's an Emmy-winning journalist from the White House to war zones, telling all sides of the story. This is the Rita Cosby Show.
Lovely Rita, meet a maid. Nothing can come between us. When it gets dark, I tow your heart away.
Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, a lot of news happening. First of all, President Trump back at the White House. He left Beijing, then they had a stopover for fuel in Alaska, and he landed at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland and is back at the White House. Lots of new news on the table, especially vis-a-vis Iran. And also, big commute issues could be on the horizon for Long Island Railroad travelers, and there are 300,000 to 400,000 of them right now as we speak. Negotiations between the MTA and union leaders are continuing as a strike could be looming in less than 2 hours. We'll do an update on that because obviously many hundreds of thousands of commuters take the Long Island Railroad every day. And certainly this would wreak havoc if indeed it does happen. But we're going to get an update and get some of the bullet points of what's at stake. Meantime, let's go back to President Trump because he spoke a lot with reporters, as he always does. I mean, he truly is the most accessible, reachable president I have ever seen. And you look at how many interviews and questions he's answered just even in the last few days. I think he's done like 20, 30 interviews while he was over in China. And he's also always going back and talking to reporters on Air Force One, extremely accessible, answering questions about whatever topic. It is typical Trump. He is the Energizer Bunny after having a very serious round of talks with another superpower. The stakes couldn't be higher. And President Trump told reporters this is what he thought and how he views China. This is what he said just a little bit ago on Air Force One. We just got this in.
We're leading by a lot, but they're second and they're very strong. And we talked about possibly working together for guardrails.
And what kind of guardrails?
The standard guardrails that we talk about all the time. AI is fantastic. So many things can happen in terms of health and medicine and operations, everything. Military, and so many things can happen, but it's also got some drawbacks, and we're talking about, we probably will, we're going to work together. We had a very good conversation about a lot of stuff.
We had a lot of good things about a lot of stuff. And yet, if you look at some of the folks in the mainstream media, they're like, oh, there wasn't really anything delivered. He went over there. He got the 200 planes for Boeing. A lot of stuff tied to rare earth minerals, a lot of stuff tied to semiconductors. Clearly, President Xi of China respects him. He got the red carpet on the way in and the way out, which is a lot different than you saw the way that Obama was treated. Remember, they had like the backdoor stairs for Obama, and then Biden, they put the little guy stairs so they could just kind of make it easy and quick and brief for him. It was a whole different ball game under President Trump, where it was like pageantry and magistry. And I mean, it was amazing when you saw just the arrival that he got and the departure he got. They had a red carpet literally on the way back to as well. And then, of course, everybody was asking what's going to happen with Iran. Now, the big things that we heard from China tonight, guys, he really started talking about some of the specifics, saying, okay, China agreed that the Strait of Hormuz should be open. China agreed that Iran should not have nukes. China agreed that there should not be tariffs on the waterway. So it seems like they're on agreement on a lot of pages. The question is, can we even trust China whatsoever? But I give President Trump credit. There are so many people out there, they're like blasting Trump. They're saying, why did he go over there? Thank goodness he's having dialogue with the other major superpowers in the world. It's important. At least he can pick up the phone, and he's not stupid. He clearly knows that China has a lot of issues, that you can't trust him, that you can't trust President Xi. You can't trust any of these people in the communist dictatorship there. There's no doubt. But he's going over there at least to calm things down. He's going over there at least to see if they can do some business deals. And I applaud him for at least trying. And every American should. Every American tonight should be wishing for incredible success from our president. And that's my message tonight here on The Rita Cosby Show. And here is President Trump. He also talked about Iran's latest proposal. And there are reports tonight that President Trump may be gearing up for some military action against Iran. That maybe something could happen as early as next week, because you could tell he is absolutely fed up with Iran. He clearly didn't want to do anything, I didn't think, before this meeting with the Chinese president because of China's relationship with Iran. Didn't want to entangle it. But you could tell that he is so fed up with Iran that they're just draggling and straggling and doing whatever they can to continue to just pull this out. And they just want to keep it going. They just want to say, oh, well, we need a little more to look at line number 4. We're not sure about line 6A. We need to spend a little more time. And President Trump has their number. So here it is. He says that they offered a latest proposal. And you got to hear how he described the fact that he said as soon as he saw it, and it didn't include essentially giving up nuclear, development in any shape or form, which he clearly has said is a red line. He says, you know what? I tossed it in the old basura, meaning trash.
Have you rejected the latest proposal from Iran, or where does that stand?
Well, I looked at it, and if I don't like the first sentence, I just throw it away.
What was the first sentence?
An unacceptable sentence. Because they have fully agreed, no nuclear, and if they have any nuclear of any form, I don't read the rest of it.
So 20 years is not enough for you. It's got to be a permanent.
No, 20 years is enough, but the level of guarantee from them is not enough. In other words, it's got to be a real 20 years, not a big one.
You've got to get all the fuel out and no more production.
We have to get everything, but we're not even talking about, I call it the nuclear dust. Came up with a term which seems to have caught on.
I'm talking about because they would not remove the...
They said that they can't remove it because they don't have the technology to remove it.
Well,
they don't have the type of tractors. They say the only one, they told me directly, they said the only one that can remove it is China or the U.S. We're the only ones with the equipment. They said, you were right, it is a complete obliteration. With that being said, I want to get it. And they agreed to it, but then they took it back, but they'll agree to it eventually.
Let's see. And as you just heard, they'll agree to it eventually, whether it's by peace or by force. Of course, President Trump would very much like to see it by peace. He'd love to see if maybe China can somehow bring Iran to the bargaining table, knock some common sense in them. And if they don't, well, President Trump is going to pound them. There is no doubt about it. And also, a lot of their oil reserves now, their oil refineries, they are overflowing because they can't ship it out. They got nobody who'll pick it up on the ship out end. And everyone says we're on the verge, or they're on the verge, I should say, Iran, of a shut in, which means when you can't ship your oil out, after a while, you need to keep the oil flowing. And then some of these older tanks back up and you can't restart them again. So some of their wells could be in tremendous, tremendous problems. And this could be catastrophic for Iran. But I think that's what needs to happen. They got to squeeze them every which way but loose. Meantime, Zohran Mamdani said, you know what, Ken Griffin, if you want to talk to me, I would love to see you. Now he finally is having some epiphany. And apparently Ken Griffin is totally ignoring Zohran Mamdani. And I can't say I blame him. I'd do the same thing. Remember, Zohran Mamdani was standing in front of Ken Griffin, the hedge fund billionaire's, his second home in New York. And remember, he was already driven out of Chicago and moved and was developing a lot of stuff in, Florida, especially like Miami area. And then you got Zohran Mamdani, who's embarrassing him and shouting out and pointing out his home in New York, his second home, and trying to embarrass him on his tax the rich plan. And Ken Griffin, now he said, listen, I may sort of stop my development in New York. I may at least reduce it or halt it altogether. He's telling people that he's planning on expanding in Miami. Hint, hint, I don't want to go forward in New York under Zohran Mamdani. And now tonight, Zohran Mamdani's like, oh, yeah, we're available to talk. And the word is that Ken Griffin is ghosting him, is ignoring him. And can you blame him after Zohran Mamdani not that long ago did this wild ad?
When I ran for mayor, I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. I'm thrilled to announce we've secured a pied-à-terre tax, the first in New York's history. This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million. This pied-à-terre tax is specifically designed for the richest of the rich, those who store their wealth in New York City real estate, but who don't actually live here. But even so, they're able to reap the huge financial rewards of owning property in, dare I say, the greatest city in the world. And most of the time, these units are sitting empty, since again, they don't actually live here. This is a fundamentally unfair system that hurts working New Yorkers. Now, it's coming to an end. This tax will raise at least $500 million directly for the city. It'll help fund things like free childcare, cleaner streets, and safer neighborhoods. As mayor, I believe everyone has a role to play in contributing to our city, and some a little bit more than others. Happy Tax Day, New York.
And happy embarrassing Ken Griffin. And now Ken Griffin is saying, I'm just going to maybe move some of my properties and some of my projects out of New York. This is a travesty because there are a lot of people that are talking about this flight from New York, a lot of very successful business individuals who contribute heavily to New York. And now, however, they're just saying, why should I stay? Why should I have even one foot into New York? Maybe I should have no feet into New York. And that saddens me. I love New York, guys. But boy, Mamdani and his policies are really just driving people out. And so it was interesting today because Zohran Mamdani admitted today to reporters, he was there doing a whole bunch of different press briefings, but he came out to reporters and admitted that he has reached out to Ken Griffin, but he tried to kind of minimize it, say, it's just sort of par for the course. Take a listen.
A member of our team reached out to his to set up a conversation. That continues to be an open invitation, and it's part of invitations that I've made to a number of business leaders across the city. I'm there to listen and there to have a conversation that goes beyond places of agreement, but perhaps places of disagreement, hear honest reflection, critique, and not put any precondition on the nature of that conversation.
Just after Griffin said it was creepy when the mayor stood outside of his apartment and talked about him needing to pay more taxes. So apparently there's some reports that he's reached out to Griffin, but Griffin's waiting for an apology.
Yeah, where do you stand? So in the middle of all this, they're also talking about increasing the amount of people that could essentially get charged this increased tax on these second homes. That was why, Mamdani did his famous video in front of Ken Griffin's home, the second home tax. They had originally talked about taxing homes that were $5 million for second homes. And now they're thinking about taxing down to $1 million, which sadly doesn't buy a lot in New York. So it means you're going to be taxing not just the rich, but really middle class in New York, too, in many ways. Sadly, that's how expensive New York is. And earlier today on Fox News, my great co-host and, of course, the owner and operator of Red Apple Media, John Catsimatidis, was on Fox. And he was talking about just how New York is socking it to everybody from many different directions. And here's what John had to say in his great insight.
Rebel and people will flee the state.
Horrifying. I'm trying to work with the governor. I'm trying to work with the mayor, but we need some common sense. And right now, what they're doing in Albany, they're trying to confuse people more than solve problems. I mean, I think people could understand I guess, a one-time tax. They can understand a subsidy until we get over the problems. But what my suggestion was the other day was maybe how about you cut all the departments by 3%? We can cut any department by 3% and they won't feel it. But right now, they're going to chase more businesses out. They're going to they're going to scare away foreign investors. You don't want to create a problem in New York City real estate altogether. And
foreign domestics, you just don't want to chase anybody out of the city. You want those people here spending their money here, shopping here, sending their kids to school here. You want a thriving New York City. Chasing people out who pay, for the most part, the most in taxes, why would
you do it? Why would you do it? And I love John's answer. Common sense. It doesn't inspire people to stay in New York. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And I will take your calls when we come back here on The Rita Cosby Show on a very busy Friday news night.
The Rita Cosby Show. The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Youth sports families and fans, huddle up. Wherever life takes you, Game Changer keeps you connected. Stream games live in full HD when you can't be there. Get play-by-play updates right on your phone. And share game highlights with everyone. Full bragging rights included. Live the game like never before with Game Changer. Create your free account today at gc.com.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix's Remarkably Bright Creatures. What if a Pacific octopus held the key to a mystery that could heal your heart? Well, that's Tova's reality. An elderly widow working at an aquarium. Tova forms an unlikely friendship with the curmudgeonly Marcellus, whose remarkable intelligence leads her to a life-changing discovery. Remarkably Bright Creatures is now playing, only on Netflix.
Halliday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Halliday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Halliday. Halliday, bring it on.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
Young man, there's no need to feel down. I said, young man, pick yourself off the ground. I said, young man, 'cause you're in a new
Well, we love a little bit of YMCA, and it's perfect because apparently one of the Chinese groups was playing YMCA for President Trump over in China. So Bill Lee knows that, of course. And maybe he just likes YMCA and the Village People. I like them too. But anyway, I thought it was very cool. And apparently President Trump, you see a little bit of video. He's doing a little bit of his typical Donald Trump dance too, which was classic Donald Trump, even all the way over there in China. Let's go to Lamar there on line 5. Go ahead, Lamar, your thoughts.
Good evening, Ms. Cosby. We heard you down here. You referred to our president, Donald John Trump, as the word you used was standing his ground for Taiwan. I would just like to say, ma'am, Donald Trump doesn't have to stand his ground for anybody or anything but the United States of America, and that's precisely what he's doing. And in keeping with that sentiment, I would like to paraphrase.
Oh, wait. Stand, Lamar, hold on. Lamar, I'll let you continue. But when I'm saying stand his ground, I'm saying it because it's in U.S. interest. You know what? We want to free Taiwan for a lot of reasons. This ambiguous policy is an important one because of where they are strategically located. We also need it because of all the semiconductors. They have the biggest amount of semiconductors in the world. And we certainly don't want China or anybody else to get access to them. We want to be able to get access to them ourselves and have them be able to sell it to us. So I would consider that a home run for him. The fact that the Chinese don't feel they got something. We'll be right back.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yes! Yes! A Lego set is a gift that always clicks. And clicks. Ooh, ooh, and clicks. For kids who love to save the day, choose a Lego set. A gift that always clicks.
Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from West Haven, Connecticut, where 2 people were rescued and taken to a hospital after the boat they were on capsized in the waters off of West Haven. Emergency crews began searching the water when a police officer on patrol was suddenly waved down by somebody just after 9 o'clock at a boat ramp parking lot, who said that 2 of their friends had gone out on the water earlier in the day and were nowhere to be found. Very scary situation. So the man told the officer his friends went out on the water and that he was unable to get in contact with them as neither of them were answering their phones. Police then dispatched additional officers to the area, as well as notifying and requesting that the U.S. Coast Guard support the search operation. They also dispatched a drone pilot who deployed a drone and used the drone to conduct an aerial search while police and rescue crews went out on 2 rescue boats. Soon afterwards, police received a report from a nearby resident who said they heard yelling from the water and saw a flare in the same area. Police then immediately sent the drone and used thermal imaging, whereupon they located 2 individuals in the water, apparently 2,600 feet from shore. Rescue crews in the boat were then directed to the area before the 2 men were removed from the water. The men told the responders they'd been afloat in the cold waters for hours as their boat had capsized due to the wake of another passing boat. The men were evaluated, taken to an area hospital where they are now recovering from the cold coastal waters, but are expected to make a full recovery thanks to our great men and women in blue. And boy, was that massive teamwork to save those 2 boaters. And everybody, let's go to your calls tonight here on The Rita Cosby Show. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Viviana in Brooklyn, line 4. Go ahead, Viviana, your thoughts.
Hi, Rita. I love your spirit.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. And I love yours. I can tell you're a fireball too, which I love.
Fire.
We're ready. We're revved up.
Okay. If you think about it, New Yorkers were the toughest before they started this re-education of New York children to the high schoolers, to all of that. It's like you want everything free. And it's not just in New York. It's teaching the youth to be docile and to be followers instead of leaders. Mamdani is not stupid. He is doing this on purpose. He has mentors like Linda Sansor. George Soros is behind the scenes also. And guess what? Isn't it nice if all the money leaves the city? Who takes over the city? The Muslims, the illegals, and they're going to soak the middle class to pay for that. What I want, and I'm praying, I'm a chaplain, I've been praying for New York for so many years, is that people will wake up. And when people used to come into your neighborhood, you say, you're coming into my neighborhood thinking you're going to take over? No way. I'm going to fight until I have no breath left.
I love that.
That's the attitude New Yorkers need to have now.
You know, Viviana, I love that. I love what you're saying because you're right. You got to fight for what's right. And the fact that and this exodus that we were just talking about, with the taxes, with some of these anti-Semitic protests, with all of these things, it's socking it in every different direction. And there seems to be such a detachment in terms of the reality of what people go through in New York. And that's why people do need to speak out. They need to vote with their feet, get out to the voting booth. I don't want to hear people say, oh, I wish I would have voted, right? I mean, you got to tell everybody every vote counts. And it's a big election year. It's a midterm election, Viviana.
Rita, I have the greatest opportunity to teach poll workers how to do their job. And my other prayer is that the Save America Act that these legislators will defend America and require IDs. There are so many people that are voting and they are not representing us, and then we're stuck. So with the voter ID, which can be even provided by the government, a legal voter ID, we will stop this nonsense, and then it'll be one citizen, one vote, and we'll get a true, proper, righteous election. Rita, that can happen.
I agree.
We have to press our legislators.
I agree.
Vote for the Save America Act.
Yeah, 100%. We got to feel good about our vote. I mean, the fact that people vote against it, isn't that shocking to you, Viviana, that there are people out there, most of them obviously all Democrats, saying, no, they don't want voter ID. I mean, that's like saying, I don't want voter integrity. It's a basic thing. You get a book at a library. You rent a book, you got to show ID. You get on a plane, you got to show ID. And to vote, you don't have to show ID? How is that appropriate?
Can I make one last? I know that
sure.
You can't keep
yes,
me all
you
the
can.
time,
You're a chaplain and you're a great gal, so go ahead.
Thank you, Rita. The other issue is these people are being duped. The ones that are the Democrats that are with AOC and with Mamdani and all of that, should they ever take over, and I'm praying to God that He will reverse this curse, they will get rid of them faster than anything else. They will make sure that they are not even seen. They think that they're going to share the power with these people. These people don't share power. They got to wake up and say, look, you're being duped. You're being used. And once I'm finished with you, you're gone. You're out of here. And those who know too much, they'll disappear. That's not funny. That's truth.
You know what? I'll tell you, Viviana, it is a crazy time right now. And some of the rhetoric that we hear is downright frightening. The fact that they have not really condemned also, the attacks against President Trump. I mean, even after the White House Correspondents' Dinner, I thought after that horrible attempted assassination on the president and everybody there at that dinner, that people would say, oh, I'm going to tone down the rhetoric. You didn't hear that. And it's frightening, and they have to be aware of the repercussions of their comments and their actions, and rein themselves in, because it's dangerous, and they're riling a lot of people up, whether it's intentional or unintentional. It is happening, and that's 100% for sure. Viviana, you are wonderful. Pray for New York. Pray for America. You're terrific. And you guys, a big story today was this terror plot that was foiled. This is really frightening. It's a guy who had ties to Hezbollah and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And he was brought to New York and charged with some very serious terrorist plots, and also has co-conspirators. So earlier today, I want to play this because John Catsimatidis interviewed U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Jay Clayton, about the case. And it is a powerful interview. And here it is, exposing the details of what could have been a horrific attack on Jewish institutions in America, including on a synagogue in New York, also in Los Angeles, and in Scottsdale, Arizona. Take a listen.
Well, important things happening in New York today. And with us today is the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Jay Clayton. Mr. Clayton, we have big items telling us about terrorism. You tell us.
Well, John, today in the Southern District here in Manhattan, We presented a defendant who is charged with many terrorist-related counts, but most of all, supporting terror across Europe and attempting to support terror into the United States. These are many of the acts that you have seen across Europe attacking U.S. interests, European interests, and as set forth in the complaint unsealed today, acts inside the United States that were attempted at targets motivated at our houses of worship, but most of all, motivated to instill fear and division in America. And I am so proud of the FBI. I am so proud of my prosecutors here in New York that Mr. Al-Saidi is going to face justice here in New York.
Now, let me ask you something. How long do you think he's been trying to get this stuff done?
4 years. We allege 4 years, John. This is a sophisticated network using all of the tools that we read about today that allow foreign actors to engage in terror into the United States, using social media, using encrypted messages, using cryptocurrency to make payments, and using very sophisticated, coordinated messaging to radicalize others. This is something that we are tracking, and thank God that the U.S. and under President Trump, that we have devoted the resources to bring these people to justice. I can tell you that but for the respect we have on the world stage as a result of the actions of the Trump administration, this man would not be in detention in New York City.
Now, was he acting on his own? Was there any particular government that you suspect that was pushing him, or how does it work?
John, as alleged, and as I always want to make clear, in America, these are only allegations. We have to prove them in a court of law. But as alleged, he's working with both Hezbollah and with the IRGC.
So it's all coming from Iran and Iran-related terrorists. And
taking a step, yes, John, taking a step back. What do we know? And let's not forget this: that Iran used the money that they generated from selling oil for over 40 years to sow terror and dissension in the United States and in Europe and in the Middle East. And we now know that to a certainty. And thank God we've decided that after 40 years, enough is enough.
Jay, we have so many problems in our country. Who is paying some of these protesters? I mean, some of them don't show up because they're not getting paid. They're getting paid. Any suspicion? Has the FBI or anybody been able to break down any of these people?
Well, let's take a look at some of the things that we are learning, even from the complaint that you see today. You see that foreign financed activity is directed into the United States to sow the seeds of dissension in the United States. And John, my belief is that, put this particular situation aside, it is much greater than we could have ever expected. The amount of foreign money flowing through various channels, including entities posing as nonprofits and charities and having a public purpose, that are actually conduits for dissension, is something that we need to bring to a stop.
Do we have enough troops to do that? I mean, it seems like so many people have gone through the borders and during the past 4 years before President Trump 47 got in. Do we have enough troops? Do we have enough U.S. attorneys that are dedicated to be able to do that? We are doing so much more than we were several years ago, including using
artificial intelligence tools and data. John, we need more data from these so-called charitable organizations. We need more data from our benefits distribution organizations. But with that data, we can better identify the bad actors. And I am telling you that AI is going to have a big impact on the business community. I think it's going to have an even bigger impact on the public sector, on law enforcement, on detecting benefits fraud, on identifying people who are here to do harm to Americans. And we should harness those tools as quickly as possible.
Anything else you want to tell the American people?
I want to tell the American people that at the Justice Department, at the Southern District, at the FBI, at the State Department, and all the way up to the top of the White House, to President Trump, that there are people working every day around the clock to protect them from actors like we're talking about today, to protect them from the cartels. John, just last week, we indicted a number of members of the government of Sinaloa, the state in Mexico where the Sinaloa cartel is centered. Those people are clearly looking to do harm to our fellow citizens, and we're going to stop it.
Jake Clayton, United States Attorney for the Southern District. Keep fighting for America. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and God bless you. And let's save America, Mr. Clayton. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Great interview with John and Jay Clayton, of course, who is right there forefront with this prosecution. And thank goodness they thwarted this operation. How scary. The guy had already been a part or worked with co-conspirators to go do attacks in Europe, including a stabbing that happened in London and elsewhere. And now they were plotting and planning multiple locations, including Jewish sites like synagogues in New York. This is really frightening. And thank goodness for our men and women in law enforcement able to bust them. And hopefully anybody tied to this, there's word that maybe there might be some other co-conspirators who might be brought in soon. And obviously it is a reminder that there are people around the globe wishing to do us harm. And all I got to say is thank goodness Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. Because they're plotting and planning every which way but loose to undermine America and American citizens. And you could bet, I believe, if they had a nuclear weapon, they would try to use it against their many enemies around the globe. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And we'll take your calls when we come back here on The Rita Cosby Show.
It's The Rita Cosby Show. The Rita Cosby Show, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Adobe Firefly is the all-in-one creative studio with AI-powered image and video editing for today's creative process. Built for creators of every kind, Firefly helps you generate, edit, and experiment fast. Because the asks aren't getting smaller, the budgets aren't getting bigger, and the timelines, oh yeah, still tight. With all the best creative AI models in one place, Firefly brings your ideas to life. Unlock a better way to make with Adobe Firefly.
This is The Rita Cosby Show. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, Zohran Mamdani getting a lot of criticism. Here it is, right before Jewish New Yorkers were observing Shabbat. He puts out a post that many believe is corrupting the history about the creation of Israel, and a vile social media post paying tribute to Palestinians, talking about the expulsion of more than 700,000 Palestinians by the state of Israel. And also in a video interviewing somebody commemorating this day. He says the Zionists were coming into Jerusalem, and also that the displacement of Palestinians continues to this day. This is really shocking. This guy just continues to bash Israel at every twist and turn. He seems to be incredibly divisive. He seems to be just completely unrepentant when it comes to what he says about Israel. And here he is, right before Shabbat. He is putting out this post bashing Israel yet again at a time where anti-Semitism is on the rise in New York City. This is so troubling. Let's go to Sal in New Jersey on line 3. Sal, your thoughts tonight.
Good evening, Rita. Rita, anti-Semitism begins with Jews, but it doesn't end with Jews. And Zohran Mamdani, ultimately, this October, Zohran Mamdani is going to snub the Italian-American community on Columbus Day. He's going to snub the Polish-American community on Pulaski Day. Next year, he'll snub the Irish on St. Patrick's Day, and he's going to go against and condemn all of Western Judeo-Christian Western civilization. What do you think of that?
Yeah, you know what? I agree. To me, it's really shocking when you see just this trashing. And you're right, good people need to stand together. And it's unacceptable. I don't like bashing of any particular religion or faith or group. And yet he clearly has the ire of the Jewish group. He clearly cannot stand them. And it's like he can't help himself. And I think he doesn't think there's anything wrong, Sal. Really troubling. And Sal, I think your point is a good one, because exactly that, indeed, this is really a time where I think all New Yorkers, all Americans need to stand together. And especially when it comes to anti-Semitism, we must condemn it and also condemn some of these vile posts from Zohran Mamdani. And let's not forget his wife, too.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.